Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And you got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is that good? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here. And of course, we got with us Dixon. And Dixon, we're going to talk about something I think a lot of people don't think super exciting, but we're going to talk about some totems today.
Oh dear God.
Yep, it's that exciting. It's that exciting.
You know what? Fine. At least I'm gonna make it interesting, or not interesting, but like necessary. Helpful. Helpful is the better word. I'm gonna make it helpful for newer players because I'm gonna base mine on one, how important it is for the crew that's playing it. Two, how important it is for you to kill it, and three, how hard it is to kill it.
I think that's kind of a lot of the same vein I'm hitting through is just like, I want, like, especially you were saying, newer players, but just realizing, like, if you see these totems, realize how important they are to the crew, and then two, how problematic they can be for you facing them,
and we can
so I think that's
we can
kind
say
of
like a
thing.
small example of like why this thing is like so important, or why is it so hard to kill. Like it will get there, but it's just, some of it is just like ridiculous.
Yeah, because I think some of these that we're going to talk about, if they haven't played against them before, you're going to be very surprised when you play against it how good it is. Like, you're like, how is this free model this good? But before we get into that, make sure you guys check us out. You can do that on our Discord channel, YouTube. And of course, if you want to support us directly, you can do that through patreon.com/RageQuitWire, where you can become a patron and you can hop on live recordings while we do this. So you can see even some of the stuff we talk about that doesn't make the cut. And you get content early and then some other goodies occasionally. And you can also use our affiliation link at Give Us Your Money, Please. Thank you, weird.com/RageQuitWire, where if you buy something from Weird, the podcast gets a little bit back. And then usually that means Pete gets into a new faction, or like I think in July, that new box for Neverborn with that stupid tree and the actual henchman for Titania is coming out. So I'm going to buy that as well. And it'll be good times. But getting into the episode here, Dixon. So you kind of already put out what you're looking at, how good it is, how essential it is to the crew. Anything else that you were looking at when you're like, hey, this is a really good totem for each faction?
Yeah. More so like I said, it's like it's gonna be more based on like, okay, how important this thing is, like overall, for the game plan, because you cannot bring a totem without bringing the master. So really, it doesn't help, saying just the totem and the why. I mean, without saying the why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard. Like, I was looking at the Arcanist, and I'm like, they're all pretty good. And there's one that's, like, sticking above out, but I don't know if he's, like, important to your game plan.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start with the Arcanist. So what is the totem that you're like, okay, this is probably the best or close to the best totem in Arcanist?
The issue that I had was that, like, because, like, they don't fit all three categories. There is not a single one that's, like, fit all three categories. Like, Banasuba is fantastic, but it's not, like, super key, in my opinion. Like, at least it's an opponent. I'm just like, if I kill it, if he dies, he dies. But... and the same thing with, like, if you think about it, like, the doves, key models, they have to be killed, but they die to a stiff breeze. So I guess I went with the puzzle box, because the puzzle box, when you hit all the things, it's like great card manipulation, can annoy the crap out of your opponent. You can summon it back, so killing it is, like, completely, like, annoying and wasteful. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, my pick is puzzle box for flavor and because of what I said.
Yeah, I mean it's got a lot of things where it's like just like you were saying, really annoying. I think there's one of the versions of Damien where you can like do stuff through the puzzle box as well. Um, and it has the Pandora box opens thing,
Yes.
which is really terrible to get
Yes.
2 damage and
And the
stunned.
OG action, once per turn, swap the 3 cards from your control hand with in configuration. You can mess with your configuration, which is like a big part of the game plan. So yeah, it's like overall, it's
Yep.
like I said, Banasuba higher impact in the game, but I don't know if it's as important in your gameplay and significantly harder to kill than the puzzle box. But it's like, you know, I don't know. What do you think? What's your pick?
Out of everything, I was kind of looking at it, and there's a lot of solid totems in Arcanus, but I actually did
Okay,
pick Banasuva as the best one in Arcanus. And the good news is you're probably not going to see him too much because there's not a ton of,
that's true.
Sandeep players out there. Uh, but if you do, Banasuva is amazing. I mean, the biggest thing that Banasuva does is his demise ability and his mantra ability are just super good. I mean, the mantra turns on the entire crew. It basically makes it where all of your elementals get to use their demise ability without dying. So, especially for things like unpacks, uh, card manipulation, and just lots of different things like that. It's amazing, especially with the wind golem and the wind gammon. It really turns on your crew for movement and shenanigans. He does have a crap ton of attacks. He does have breath of fire, which is really good. The toss is super good, and then also Lord of the Elements. And in Sandeep too, he is a bonus academic and an elemental, so he can do both kind of things that Sandeep two has you do with discarding abilities to take extra actions. So you're right. I don't think he's
He's
like
not key.
it. I don't know. Whatever Banasuba is, it's just I just don't think he's like the best totem in the game because he's not the most survivable. Like he's actually pretty easy to kill. You almost have to put Soulstone Cash on him so he
Right.
doesn't just automatically die.
Yeah, if you want him to stick in the middle of the fight, but like sometimes I've seen you lose him,
Yeah.
and you're like, all right, whatever. I still have the wind golem. I still have the master.
Yeah, it's not like if you lose this, it's not like holy crap, this is like a terrible thing, but it's pretty bad when you lose. So I will say the earlier you lose Banasuva, the worse it is. If you lose him turn 1 or 2, it's awful.
Just but yeah, but that was the big issue that I found when I was like looking at the Arcanist when you asked me this question. I'm like, yeah, I don't really. There's none here. They're very like sacrificial lambs kind of thing, especially the doves,
Yeah.
who are critical to a lot of their plans.
Yeah, the
But
Arcanist
at the
have-
same time, if they die, they die.
Yeah, they have a lot of like solid totems. And I don't know. Do you have like a worst totem? Like you were looking at it and you're like, man, that's just like the worst totem I can see right there.
In Arcanist, man, I mean, I guess by elimination, and it's not even bad. It's Mouse.
Yeah, I was just looking at Mouse. I'm like, I wish Mouse like he's like adorable, but he's kind of like, eh.
Yeah. I mean, he's not bad. Like literally, he heals. He gives you adrenaline. He pulls you out of trouble. Yeah, he's not
I think
bad.
Mouse
It's
is
just,
probably better than the Wendigo.
I don't know, man. Wendigo turns into an ice pillar when he dies.
Yeah, that's basically
So
it.
even when he dies, well, that and casting and all that stuff. It's just that even when he dies, he's useful. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think Arcanists are a pretty good spot. Totems, yeah, are annoying and worth killing in this faction, but interesting. We'll see if we agree on the next one in this Bayou. Oh, man, Bayou is kind of interesting. I was looking at them.
It is. This one is difficult.
Yeah.
This one is difficult for a completely different reason.
Difficult to find one that you're like, that's pretty good.
I mean, there's a few that are just like, yes. Wait. You don't think that they're good? Is that what you just said?
It was hard for me. There's 2 that stood out, and the rest of them, I'm like, they can do some things.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I don't know. There's a couple of them that I was like, these are
Oh.
fine, and the other ones I'm kind of like, they're solid, but
Well, I got my pick.
Looking
At
at
the
them
end of the
though,
day,
I think the problem is that a lot of these totems are a lot easier to kill.
I I mean, I guess you're right, but at the same time, they do bring valuable stuff to the crew, which is kind of hard to. Yeah, like T is saying, Tom is saying it's like little ass. It's like yeah, little ass. She doesn't really have to do anything crazy other than push models around, and it's impacting a lot.
Yeah,
And you know that's
and
true.
don't get me wrong, that's good. But like when we get into some of these other factions, you're gonna see the ones that we pick are like crazy town good. So that's kind of why I'm looking at Bayou, and I'm just like, yeah, like little ass pushes stuff around. Penelope
Uh,
has some obeys.
okay. Let me paint you a
Okay,
picture
paint
of
me a picture of Bob Ross.
of I summon a voodoo doll, and I
I
make
knew you were gonna
the
pick that stupid
master.
doll.
No, he's not my
Oh, okay.
pick. He's not my pick. I'm just building this, this bridge to like Valhalla, so you can see that there's actual value
I didn't
here.
say there wasn't
I'm just
value.
saying. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like even when they die, they become a problem.
Yeah.
Like Voodoo Doll would be like my third best in faction, and you already are like flashbacks to Nam. So like, oh God, don't touch my master, because it's true. Am I wrong?
No, I was thinking of the time where you made him a mini peacekeeper and made my peacekeeper do nothing.
So yeah. So again, Voodoo Doll, Earl, MVP of a many games with Zip, because what does he do? He just scores points by hanging onto a skeeter or a flying. Come on, like everybody's like he's enemy number one. You need to kill him. How many times have you heard that phrase with Earl Burns?
Yeah, okay. But who is your pick then out of the lot?
And then the number one that I had to pick at the end of the day was the Skeeters.
Okay.
And it is because the value with Old Cranky is insane.
All right.
I'm not even exaggerating.
You're talking
Like
about
that
like his, what is it, 8-inch take the hit and their defense 6?
7, and yes, their
Defense
defense
7,
7. Yeah, they are disgusting for take the hit, and it's a better take the hit because it's 4 inches from the model, and they don't get to move, so they don't have to move at
Well,
all.
not only that, but with Old Cranky, one of them can like taxi Old Cranky around too.
Also true. Yeah, like there's a lot of value. Like those dang Skeeters, they're not easy to take down. If you take him down, he can summon him back. Like there's so much value in these stupid models.
Okay.
So yeah, they won overall. Like and the honorable mentions were Bruce because he draws you cards and heals you models, and Little Lass literally because she's a taxi. And those were like I was like they're great, and even if they die, they do their worth in like turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I think you can bring them back though, if I remember right. Because
Oh, the Skeeters,
Yeah.
yes. The Skeeters, yes. I was talking now about the Little Lass and Bruce.
Yeah.
But yes, the Skeeters you can bring back.
Yeah, and mine actually. So I don't agree with you. Like those totems are very utilitarian. I was leaning towards Earl, but Earl's such a hot target that sometimes he just dies and doesn't do anything. It's tough. He's a schemer. He can also heal, but I think I'm gonna go with kind of a hot pick here because I just think he's going to see some decent play in Bayou, and I'm actually going to go with the apprentice Wesley. And
Interesting.
yeah, I think I'm just going to go with him for a couple of reasons. One, he just kind of supports the crew and does it really pretty well. And he not only has a 2-inch reach and can do the whole like I'm going to give out poison and stuff. He just randomly can put out stunned if you aren't careful against him. He has sober up, which is really good because you can put out focus. And if you play against like Brew 1 or even Brew 2, you don't want to see that coming at you with focus. And then he's just a little healer. So he kind of floats under the radar, like as not being the best totem. And the model also looks like a lot of the other Kung Fu gremlins you see in the crew. So he also doesn't stick out on the board. So a lot of times people don't like laser focus on him because he kind of blends into the background, which is why I think he kind of hangs around sometimes longer than he should, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too because like he's also one of those models that like scores you points and then dies.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Yeah, because he's also
end of
significant.
turn.
People will just look at him and be
Yep.
like, "Oh, what's that model over there?" I'm like, "Oh, that's Wesley. Is he significant?" Yes. Oh, well, I'm going to kill him now. It's like, yeah, he's done his job.
Yeah. He'll be like, oh, or like, oh, I run 10 inches into, some model and be like, I got protected territory.
And so,
Or hold up your forces.
yeah,
Stuff like
exactly. Yeah, and he just does that, and then he usually dies. But he'll score you VPs. But most importantly, he's a good setup for early game because he's putting out focus and kind of getting the poison game going and doing other things. He can vote in the back ballot, so he has a lot of good uses. I also
Yep.
I was debating Penelope because I actually like Penelope a lot.
that. Yeah, +1 movement. I was valuing that too, but she is so squishy.
Yeah, she just dies.
Yeah, and when she dies, she loses so much. So you kind of like try to like hold her back until like turn 3.
Yeah.
When then you don't need her +1 that often.
Yeah, and
But yeah, obey on a body +1 to move. She's insane. It's just she dies to a stiff breeze.
yeah. And I think that's a lot of the Bayou totems. It's just they kind of put themselves in positions to just get smoked.
Yeah, that's the main reason why I went with the Skeeters. Because, like, Skeeters, you can bring them back. They do their job constantly throughout the entire game. They're kind of hard to take down at defense 7. And then Old Cranky just turns them all the way up to 11.
Who would you say is the worst or least good totem in Bayou?
Yon LaCroix, unless you're playing the title, and even then.
Yeah, the only thing they're really good for is putting out upgrades and
Yep.
moving your kin models around.
Yep. That's it.
I mean, and
That's it.
has its uses, but they usually end up mucking up the board more than actually helping, in my experience.
Yes. And giving your opponent a whole bunch of pass tokens.
Yes.
Because usually you can ignore them completely, and they're just feeding your opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying.
I was looking at Explorer Society Dixon, and I might be wrong, but these, like, overall, they may have the most good totems in the game.
I mean, we kind of have to like. Do you want to make the rule saying that Nexus one of many doesn't count?
Yes.
Because I was looking at it, I'm like,
Yes.
this is
They don't count as
1,000%. Okay, so why do you say that? Because I have my pick and I thought it was like super easy.
So I also have a pick that I was like, yeah, this is my pick. But I started looking at it. I was like, oh man, Mordrake's really awesome. The Ouroboros is really effective. Even Orville's like a super schemy dude. The Shambling Nests are awesome. I love Sophie. Sovereign's really good. Bernadette's
Yes.
really good. Luna's the best girl, or boy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just a lot of
Luna's
good
a girl.
totems.
Yeah, no, they're all great and they do a lot of work. I just thought that one of them was just the entire game. He's always there and he's just hard to remove.
Yeah.
Like he's literally like you have to kill him at some points just to get him out of the way, and all it does is return it back to your opponent unless you have some special sauce. Mordrake, I'm talking about Mordrake.
So you
Yeah,
think
'cause-
Mordrake's the best?
Yeah, just on don't get me wrong, Ouroboros, I love that little armadillo, and he wins sometimes like by himself in the weirdest possible way. Orville, same thing. You were right. Everybody that you said, Sophie making the entire crew just like that much better.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was definitely hard until I realized there is one model that is there the entire game, and he's important to your game plan the entire game. And as soon as I realized that, it was easy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think Mordrake's definitely a good pick because he does a lot with your concealing markers. He does the shadow markers. He does like some
He has-
switcheroo tricks. His damage is pretty
He-
decent. That targets movement, puts out stagger.
I think
yeah, he's
the most important thing is he has both keywords, and there's a lot of stuff in the keyword that is very keyword specific, and you can always target him to get that extra oomph.
yeah. And if you don't ignore his demise, he's just almost impossible to kill because Ivan's pretty hard to kill.
Yeah, just on distance alone, Ivan likes to be like mid to late to away from everything, and teleport in and out. And Mordrake is like the link to him.
And also, Mordrake himself counts as a concealing marker.
Correct. Yeah, no, he's like I said, he's very important to the game plan. He does a lot of work and he doesn't die. He's just consistently there.
So Mordrake was probably my second one. Ouroboros was probably my third. Just because, like you said, he just kind of scores points, and Entomb is just a disgusting action.
Yeah, yeah. And the demise. Oh, the demise.
However, I gotta go with Sovereign. This dude's ridiculous.
Yes, yes.
And people might not think about him because maybe you don't see Anya played too much, but
I don't know, man. You say that, but like she's making some
yeah.
numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, it's armor 2. It's got random willpower 7, move 7, price progress. So you can ping yourself or whatever. But this thing's gonna put stunned on your crew. It has Thunderstruck, so that's a crazy shockwave to put stunned on your crew. If it moves, you got to take tests to be stunned. It has Fly with Me to just move important pieces places, and it randomly has a huge spike on its talons for like 236 damage with puncture.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can get there. So this model's just good. It deserves to die as soon as you see it on the table.
Yeah, it is. It is a must kill for sure. Like there's something to be said about explorers that every totem basically, well, not every, like 9 out of 10 totems basically are must kill. These totems need to die, or you need to control them somehow.
I think
And Sovereign is huge.
I think Tom in the chat just voiced which totems Dixon doesn't like in Explorers, and that's probably the Runaways.
Haven't played. Yeah, they're the worst totems in the game, in my opinion.
So you want to explain why you think that?
First, you have to put them in the midline. So you're putting them closer to your opponent, and if your opponent kills them, you don't get as much value. And then if you, basically, if they just control them by like ignoring them or doing something stupid, like like completely letting them get to your deployment zone for some reason, then give me boy. Then basically they just give your opponent pass tokens and resources. It's I hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be right back. One second.
No problem. Yeah, I mean they're very flavorful, and they do give you pass tokens, which is kind of the problem, right? Because you're going to be at like a 10 model count, 9 model count, because you have 3 of them, and yeah, if they die, they'll give adversary out, and you can't lose it if Cooper sees you, and that's fine. But yeah, they can be a liability. You got to play them like a lot of people just run them at the opponent, and then it really can give your opponent the opportunity to get like activation control because you just smoke 2 of them. Their melee and stuff isn't very good. The escape thing's cool. Like it's a cool idea in the game, but if you're not cautious with them, it'll just cost you activation control, and then you're in rough shape there. So I definitely think you should be cautious playing Cooper and not just throwing them away. I think if they had more hit points, that would probably be. Yeah, that's a good. I was thinking maybe more than 4 hit points. Kevin said if they were they are 4 hit points, so that's 2 AP for a lot of things to go into them. Which I guess, if you're looking at it that way, you're wasting your opponent's AP. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I guess you could say that they're delaying the game a little bit, which is probably their whole purpose in life. Also, just randomly putting out distracted isn't terrible. So if you have a call for help, that's always funny. Let's see. We'll wait for Dixon to get back, but I'll start teeing up the guild. So, looking at guild also has a lot of cool totems. Guild totems are kind of a little weird though. Like I was going through them, and they have a lot of utility. There's a couple that just seem okay, but there's a lot of utility there as well, where they seem to help the crew out with what they're wanting to do, and they're not necessarily like, just can do things on their own or exacerbating issues that you see in the crew. So it was definitely unique for that.
Where are
I was
we?
just moving on to guild here, and I was just saying guild kind of is interesting because they seem more like their totems are very utilitarian. They're kind of really supporting the shtick of the crew. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Are you? I guess I don't agree. I'm just saying, are you trying to gaslight the crap out of me or something? It's very obvious. Gil has only one pick and only one pick.
Depend. I don't know. It depends if you're picking the same one I am.
Pete, stop smoking that crack and say the dispatcher already. We know that that's the answer.
See, and I obviously am going to say the dispatcher, but if you are not playing against guild or specifically Dashel, you might see this little radio nerd and be like, oh, well, he is, this guy sucks, whatever. So I don't know, Dixon, why is this guy easily the best totem in guild?
I mean, if you look at the stats alone, you're like, how is this supposed to be hard to kill? He's only defense 3, willpower 4, movement 4, and 4 health. Herpader. Bro, like, this thing is cancer. This thing, not only do you have to kill it, regardless of, even if he's less, quote unquote, less useful in the title version of Dashel, this thing is it's just cancer. It's just straight cancer.
It's still really good in
into the
Dashel
vein.
too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this thing is okay. So for the listener, we'll look at the stupid ability that says he counts as an enemy scheme marker, and then look at all the bonus actions and abilities that trigger.
It's
off
Aethervox Broadcaster. Basically, he can count as a friendly or enemy scheme marker, and if he's removed from the game, you draw a card instead. So he's not removed, and you get to draw a card for some reason.
Yeah, and Kevin, I get it. Purifying Flame, really nice. And yes, there's a couple of other ones that you can look and go, yeah, this is really good. Printing Press, fucking amazing model with Arcane Reservoir. Guess what? Dispatcher leaves them all in the dust. It is the most busted thing Gil has when it comes to totems.
Yeah, a couple other things
Like, it's just-
that are really nice on Dispatcher is, one, he has Serene Continence, so you gotta go into him knowing that. He has Protected, so if there's something else near him, that can protect him. He has Stay at Your Post, so some of those like pushes and stuff that your crew wants to be affected by, he can just be like, no, you're not moving. Like, stay at your post, you're not moving. And then...
Yeah. By the way, that's laugh off to all models within 4 inches.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And Consolidate Power on the mass trigger, you're pushing your models around, but you also get that trigger to then just draw a card because you're going to push people near the dispatcher and then you get to draw a card. And like you were saying, there's tons of bonuses that just let you draw cards because it says remove marker. And it's just awesome. You end up drawing probably somewhere between 4 and 6 cards throughout the turn.
Yeah, dude, there's I forgot exactly how they do it, but they can give out fast to like their minions in some way and
as
focus.
Taggart.
Okay, so the I know it's a silly wombo combo, but then all of a sudden that model that you summon or that model that has fast also uses bonus action to remove him, quote unquote, draws you a card, gets an extra move, and then you have 3 freaking actions for you. This is that model's outrageous. I'm sorry. That model is outrageous.
Yeah, and then in Dashel 2, you can pretty much like bring Dashel and Executioners and some other models where, you use the bonus action to get a walk, draw a card, and you're just killing things.
Yeah, dude. And like the worst thing, he's insignificant. So even when you kill him, it's like, I got no value other than I finally stop your shenanigans.
Well, and the problem is he's just a win more model, so like turn 1 and 2 is just where he's really setting up for Dashel to go off. And it's like, good job, you killed him turn 3 or 4, but you have a bunch of stuff already dead or you're already in trouble because the setup was already there.
Yeah. If you don't find a way to actually kill him through a bunch of shenanigans, it's really, really hard.
Yeah, if you can take him off with like shockwaves or blast. Like when I played Sandeep, it was pretty easy to kill him because it's just like, hey, here's 3 shockwaves. Can you pass all of them?
Yep.
Yeah, he's a good one. I don't know. So if you had a runner-up, I guess who would be your runner-up?
Oof. I didn't even think about that, but shoot. Go to you first, then we'll talk.
If I had a runner-up, I think I'd probably do the Printing Press. It's got arcane. It's just hard to remove because it has armor.
Yeah.
And Also, I like hot off the presses to push my models around because there's some cool things you can do to switch out. Like if you bring the guild mage, you can switch out burning for focus. So that's a cool little trick if you have the trigger. It can heal itself. Its attack is fine, and it basically it's kind of weirdly a support, but also a kind of front line sometimes if you want it to be with like Fiona Gage to just be like, stay away from my squishy
Yeah.
reporters.
If you're playing against a gun line and you have the girl, the bodyguard girl, the henchman woman that can take the hit, but it's not take the hit. I forgot her
Yeah.
name. Fiona. If you
Yeah,
have
Fiona.
Fiona and him, and you're playing against guns, then he's fantastic because you can put Fiona in front of him and put a ski marker behind her,
Yep.
and then he can technically frontline. I will actually, agree with you about the printing press, but I will add the reason is because the Rector Rodriguez is amazing in this crew because of hot off the press. You get to push him 8 inches forward, set him on fire for 4, and then he gets to use that fire to get positive flips on all his attacks. I think it's on all actions actually.
Yeah, and
Yeah, so yeah, I'll say that.
and I was looking at worst totem, and some people would say Scales of Justice, but I actually don't hate the scales. It's a significant model that draws you a card usually every turn.
Yeah.
I would actually say it's probably the Enslaved Nephilim. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong per se, but I don't think he's the worst. I think he's not good, but I don't think he's the worst. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
Well, who would you say is the worst then?
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to say, but I guess the scribe maybe. I don't know.
Dude, I've seen the scribe be annoying as all get out.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think it's just hard to say. Definitely not the walking cannons. Walking cannons was like a second.
They're great support.
Yeah, they were like a close second or third place for me. If I think about it a little bit longer, but yeah, the printing press because of the Director Rodriguez, I'm just gonna say that I agree with you. Is a close second.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into your faction here, Dixon. And since we're looking at Neverborn, I'll let you kind of start with what you think generally, and then your pick here. I know it's probably like picking your
Dude.
favorite child.
Yeah, except for the Gora. Gora can go F himself.
Wow.
He's just terrible.
Wow.
Dude, okay, so to be perfectly fair, the Gore is fantastic if you have the Emissary because you just drop a 12 and you have a second Emissary after the first one dies. But he's so easy to kill and he doesn't do anything for like 3/4 of the game, so I don't particularly have love for the Gore.
Yeah.
That being said, I have 2 that are tied for best. And I don't know if people are going to agree with me, but definitely Chompy is one, and the other one is Marathene.
Interesting.
Yes. And it's very, like, I don't think it's even that hard to say the why. I just know that people are probably going to disagree. Marathene, if you put the upgrade in human reflexes, all of a sudden is an actual threat. And anytime that it does any damage, you can heal your master, which then triggers a whole bunch of other stuff.
Well, also, I think on one of the versions of Castor, you can pretty much like ping damage off of him with one of the actions. I can't remember which one it is.
Yes, him or the sword, if I remember.
Yeah, so you can
Yes.
like just sit there and just like pulse out damage or some nonsense.
Yes, Marathene is she's gonna be there the entire game because she cannot be killed, unless you kill Castor, and whew, that is hard. That is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, my pick, like I actually saw Marathene. I was like, Marathone's pretty good. Totem that can't die, but yeah, Lord Chompy's you can't go wrong with this dude. Like if you play against Dreamer, you have to have a plan for Lord Chompy because he can just ruin your day. And then in the title, which is very hot right now, you can summon him back. So.
Yep.
You got to have a plan for him because he's got good stats. He's move 6, so he's pretty quick. Regen 2, he's a henchman, so it's a totem that can stone, which is a big deal. Heals himself if you fail terrifying.
He has teleports in keyword, a lot of them. Acts out of movement in keyword, a lot
Not
of
only
them.
that, but he's got Trail of Gore. He does the Lucid Dream thing. He has a 3/4/6 attack with 2-inch reach, and then just randomly he also has Twist Reality, which is one of the best tech guns in the game to ignore armor and corp. So he's a good freak. Not he would be a good model, but he's a fantastic totem. He may be up there for the best totem in Malifaux.
If he didn't have let me put it this way: as a Neverborn player, if he didn't say totem and you had to bring the Dreamer, I probably get this model out of keyword in like 9 out of 10 crews that I make.
Oh yeah,
because of how strong he is, and you get him as a totem. On like a really solid master.
Yeah, he's really good, and he's move 6. I mean, he's got a ton of just great things on his card. And I don't know about you, Dixon, but when I play against Dreamer players, I basically either try to make him like walk attack just to make sure he's only getting 1 attack off a turn, or I try to put like distracted out or slow him. Conditions work a lot too. Because like I said, if you kill him against the title, he just gets summoned back. So a lot of times I don't like killing him because I'm just like, I don't want to see him come back this turn.
I'm listening to you. I'm just thinking about.
I don't know. I don't know what your plan is when you play against Chompy, like how you handle that, beat stick.
I mean, I try my best to like either kill him or distract him because I can't really control him with willpower 7. He's willpower 7, a henchman, so it's very, very hard to like put him on negatives or put him, in a bad position. What with the keyword just doing so much crap, and you have easier access to abusing Bowman because Bowman is a nightmare, and you can lead nightmare and do all the kind of shenanigans. It's hard. He's definitely not unkillable, but like you said, you can always bring him back.
Yeah, and for worst totem in Neverborn, I'm probably there with Gorar. I think the Gorar's job is just to mold into another, and then that's all he does.
Yeah, and when he doesn't do anything for 3/4 of the game, like in voting, in Stuff the Ballots, he has a job, but come on. Your job is to stay in the back and vote 3 times. Come on.
Yeah, pretty much. And I would just say that the Jackalope, because the chat's sitting there all talking about these Neverborn totems, and I think the Jackalope for Marcus is probably one of the most fun totems, just because you load him up with upgrades and he just goes and causes chaos.
Yeah, he's like perfectly balanced because you really like him. He can actually start passing upgrades on the title. Because like if you're playing the title and you play the Jackalope, then you can, if I remember correctly, you can kill the Jackalope to pass it off to somebody else. Like it's just really odd how that works out.
Yeah, just like pretty impossible to kill because you can do his Demise Eternal ability more than once.
Correct. Yeah, he's not bad. He's just not great because the insignificant tag. If he didn't have the insignificant tag, I don't think that he'd be OP, but he definitely would be like on the top of this list, like very, very close, if not beating everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving on to the Outcasts. Man,
this was hard.
This one was hard. I looked at this and I was like, man, what do you pick?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird because like it's not because of survivability. There are also some sacrificial lambs in this.
Yeah.
I do have a pick, but they're not hard to kill. They're just the biggest giant pain in the ass in the entire keyword. Or in the entire faction, I guess.
Yeah, what's up?
Guess who I'm talking about, Pete? Just take a wild guess.
You said hard to kill?
They're not specifically hard to kill.
Okay, give your descriptor again, because I'm still kind of looking at them like...
All right. So first
Paint
things
me a
first.
picture.
No. First things first. Let's talk about the ones that we talked before, and they didn't make the cut. And here they're probably not gonna make the cut for you, or they're definitely not for me. Earl and Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Fantastic models, do great work. They're kind of hard to take down for completely different. Well, not Earl. Earl dies to stiff breeze if you catch him, But by that point, you're so far removed from the rest of your crew that it's like, well, now what do I do?
I think I know which one you're going to pick.
What am I gonna pick?
I think you'd probably pick Stolen.
Yes. Kind of a troll pick, I will admit. But
I think if you've played,
come on,
I think if
dude.
you play against a good Hamlin player, I think people who, especially if you played like Liam, I think they'd agree that Stolen can be pretty disgusting.
Yeah, I played a game against Lance, and Lance did every possible trick to murder them all, and he succeeded. And I think by that point, I won the game because of some other shenanigan, but I was still feeling like, why the hell did you go so hard for my Stolen? And his answer was Liam.
Yeah, they're solid. They have serene continence.
Yeah, and I want to point out in the chat we have Kevin Smith saying, does the student conflict count for this? And I agree. I agree that he is, or they are, very underrated. Fantastic model, gives out fast. It is very important.
I've
to
seen
remind
Dixon do
people
bad things with the students setting up some fast.
Yeah, Taylor
Mercenaries.
with the fastball special.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Taylor with the fastball special. But like, it is so hard not to like look at the Stolen and be like, this thing needs to die. And if it doesn't die, I start losing henchmen at round 3. Like round 3 and later, you start losing henchmen because of these stupid, insignificant totems.
Yeah, vomiting disease, pretty nasty.
It is, by the way, yeah, to the listeners, look at their card, look at their quote-unquote range attack, vomiting disease. It doesn't look like much, and then you put them on the table, and they're like, oh, dear God.
Yep. Yeah, and if they do die, it just ends up giving you rats, and it gives you, lets you draw cards. And also,
Yep.
Don't forget, these also help Hamlin stay alive, because if you kill Hamlin, he just, goes back to a Stolen and lives again.
Yeah, so that's the main reason why you have to kill them, is because until you kill them, Hamlin is not going to die unless you have anti-demise tech or anti-healing
Or you pull
tech.
him away from him, because I think he has to be, 6 or 8 inches next to him?
5.
Yeah.
He has to be 5 inches away from them. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I still consider that like really powerful because there's 3 of them. There's 3 children.
So, Dixon, I want you to answer Tom's question. He says, Blight tokens aren't hard to give out. Is that right? Never played against Hamlin. Oh, sweet summer child.
Well, I play in a weird way.
But there's Blight on the
And
table.
Yeah, because like the way that I play, my favorite, and I lost this game, but like my favorite moment with Hamlin is I was playing against Dashel, and I cheated and stoned a crow, a really high crow, to get Dashel, because he didn't put Let Line Code because he didn't expect that, I was gonna actually pull Dashel out, and Dashel has 6 blight on turn 1. I did not see him turn 2. He disappeared, like he ran like as far as humanly possible, all the way to the end on turn 2. Turn 3, finally with movement shenanigans, he got back to the middle of the table. But like by then, yeah, it was really rough.
Yeah, because
so blight
especially
is
if your
possibly,
crew likes to get in the mix. Hamlin loves a fight, right? Because if you activate near stuff, you're getting a blight token. If you kill stuff, you're getting a blight token. The rats are giving you a blight token. There's going to be rats everywhere. And then they just end up blowing you up with like Hamlin's, bleeding disease?
That's the one.
Yep.
Because bleeding disease is damage equal to blight, and it doesn't
It's
have
not
a cap.
capped, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big issue. Because like I have hit somebody for 7 damage, and it's just like,
Yeah.
what the crap is this?
Yep. It's pretty nuts. And then also with the Obedient Wretch, if you have Blight, you can't cheat against her attacks, and she has bleeding disease.
You can't cheat, post duels. Period. So it has like better combat finesse.
That's what I'm.
Because it's all attacks.
That's good to point out. I don't disagree that the Stolen are good. I was a little torn here. I'm either torn between the Ouroboros or the Steam Trunk, actually. Lady Lagaya is really annoying. She was kind of, and that's kind of the thing you were talking about. I'm just looking at all these totems like, man, all these totems are just pretty annoying, and you just kind of want them to die.
I mean, you can pick the Steam Trunk and be that, that hot take, because I think that the Steam Trunk is one of the worst in the faction.
So I actually like the Steam Trunk as a totem just because I think it does what you want a totem to do, right? It's not the easiest to kill because it's armor 2. If you ignore armor, it dies easy. You can blow it up in Von Stuck or Von Schill's own crew, so that's always funny. But it heals. It heals your stuff. It puts out one of the upgrades. So I didn't want to put it as the best though, just because I was like, yeah, it's not the best. But I did pick the Ouroboros for Outcast. It's just really good.
Yeah, it's just super. Again, Earl and Ouroboros, technically a better Outcast player would have picked one of those two. Period.
Yeah.
But Steam Trunk, the thing is that I have lost the Steam Trunk to too many guns that are capped at 5.
Yeah.
Because he's armor 2, but if you hit it with a gun that has a top end of 5, you can just focus shoot it, and that's it.
Oh yeah, like
That's all she wrote.
Fuhatsu just destroys this thing.
Yeah, Fuhatsu just completely obliterated from the table, and if there's something nearby it, you also did extra damage. It's so dumb.
Yeah, so I did end up going with Ouroboros just because it's fast. So it's like moving around. You can't kill it unless you ignore the demise once again. But it's once per game, so you could kill it twice, I guess. But once again, people just need to realize how disgusting Entomb is. Because Tiri can put out a lot of markers. There's a lot of people playing with the version of Tiri that puts out all the different tech markers and stuff. And if you play that version, Entomb's just going to stun like everything you love, especially if it's around like strap markers and scheme markers and stuff. It's
an average of movement 14 duels at a big, because it's a shockwave too.
Yeah.
So it's like a 5-inch bubble of movement 14 duels, and she has an obey as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it looks like it's move 4, but it's move 7.
That's also very important. It also has the ability to have its armor reduced to 0.
Yeah.
Which is shockingly important in a lot of games, because like a bunch of shockwaves do 2 damage. So he just takes none.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Do you have... So you think Steam Trunk's the worst one in the game? Or in Outcast, I should say.
Yeah, in Outcast I do. Mostly because of like its impact. It can die and it really doesn't affect your game plan. Like it helps, but it's not like impactful.
I actually think that the worst is Doc Mitchell.
You are high.
So no, let me tell you why. And I'm sure you're like, but Doc Mitchell has Arcane Reservoir and he's a healer and all this other stuff, right?
And Bedside's Manor. That's literally the key. Like
the reason why I think he's the worst is because you're right. Those things are good, but he just dies. Like he's lots of things have Arcane Reservoir, right, on their totems. Like there's a bunch of totems that have that. I would argue he may be the easiest one to kill.
I mean, if you get a direct hit on him, I don't think you're wrong.
There's nothing to protect. Like, what are you protecting him with?
No, it's just positioning. Because I played Liam way back in the day. Played Angel. I played a bunch of just like random player. Axel. I played Axel. Like they're very good at positioning just right so that he's at the edge. Because all you need to be is 3 inches from what you actually care about.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the
best
thing.
Like, about him.
People like Bedside Manor, and it's like unless your positioning's very, very good, it's really easy to be like, cool. I'm just like I'm pretty good at keeping Doc safe, but there's just times where things start getting mixed up, and it's just like, yeah, I can kill Doc Mitchell right now, and he's just gone.
Yeah, Kevin's saying, I think the Doc suffers from being a decent totem and a keyword that doesn't really work well. Kevin, I think the keyword at a high level works too well. I think you're right. Like a newer player will look at the keyword and be like, this sucks. But I've seen so many like S tier players that are just like making that keyword
and I think
look OP.
I think the title works really well. I think that until Parker got nerfed, he worked really, really well.
Way too well.
He works fine now. I do think that there's a lot of the minions that probably need a rework. Like the Banditos kind of suck. The Woku
Yes.
Raiders are kind of meh. I think
The
Sue,
convict gunslinger.
convict gunslingers need some kind of defensive tech, yeah, because they just die.
Yeah,
So yeah,
or
I
just be
wouldn't disagree
7
with that.
points. Yeah, if they were like 7 points, I don't think that they'd be bad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was interesting. Yeah, but I think, like I said, I don't think Doc Mitchell's bad for that reason, but he dies.
Yeah, I just want to say special mention to the waves, because the waves, although they don't actually look that interesting, they do a lot of like high-minded stuff. Like they fill your discard pile with a whole bunch of cards for you to abuse, and then on top of that, they're kind of important for Leviticus to go back and forth in the middle of the table. So Leviticus can be a punching beast and then come back to a wave.
And also just randomly pain transfer can kill models.
Correct. Yeah. So they don't look like much, and they technically aren't much. But if you're looking at them on the table, you can't just ignore them. Like they will mess you up.
And just kind of a quick sidetrack for especially newer players. If you see a totem that has Arcane Reservoir on it, it's worth killing that totem.
Oh my God, yes.
Like, just be like,
The earlier the better.
yeah, just be like, yeah, if I can take this off the board turn 1 or 2, that's just value.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, getting into Rezzers. Rezzers. I don't know what to think about this faction. They got some totems.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. There are 3, maybe 4 that are like locked as like the best. I don't even know which one to pick. This is probably the way you were saying. It's like pick your favorite child.
Yeah, it's so there's a. I know who I would say is the worst, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's easier to say which one's the worst.
I mean, can we both agree it's probably the research assistant?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not- but he has +1 movement. He can't be that bad. Like,
Yeah, he is.
When compared to the rest of these models, the corpse candle has significantly more uses.
Oh no, corpse
and
candles
it's
are way more
ridiculously
useful.
good. That's what I'm saying. Like it will come back. It doesn't matter if you kill it because they're killing it themselves. Like it's so good.
Yeah, it's just, and everything he does is like super close range, and he just dies.
Yes, and the Soul Porter, the same. Like this is probably the best and hardest of the factions to like pick which one is the better.
I agree with that.
And like I said, I have like 3 to 4 that I'm just like, man, these models all score points and sometimes win games by themselves for like the dumbest reasons, except for Ikirio. Ikirio wins games for a very direct and obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at a Curio, and yeah, her biggest thing is she does irreducible damage.
Yeah,
and she has
and it comes back. Yep, and it comes back, and she counts as a Japanese ghost. So that being that keyword means that she has access to a whole bunch of extra movement shenanigans. Yep. It's just a bunch of stuff. She's incredible.
Is she your pick then?
Well, that's the thing. It's still tied. So I'll tell you my 3 picks, and you tell me which one's better.
Okay.
My 3 were Copycat Killer, Ikirio, and freaking the Corpse Candle itself. Like literally, those were the 3 for like very obvious reasons.
Pretty close. It's pretty close to mine.
Okay, so you also had like a 3-way tie.
Yeah, mine was a Curio, Copycat, and the Necrotic Machine.
Yeah, so I guess we can just say real quick, why do we think these models? So like, go and tell me, why do you think the Copycat Killer is so important, even though he's insignificant?
I mean, the biggest thing is mistaken identity. You can just teleport Seamus all around the board. Plus, with the White Rabbit Company, you can actually put a hat on the Copycat Killer, and now he's also considered a ski marker.
Yeah, so he's technically significant, which is funny.
He can't interact, but he counts as a ski marker. His flintlock's not bad, and actually his shears aren't bad either. So if you kill something with a Copycat Killer, Seamus counts as copying or killing it, and you're going to have Whisper on Seamus. So that means if you kill a model, you get to draw a card, even if it's with Copycat Killer. So yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, like he is not the hardest thing to kill, But at that point in time, when you swap with Seamus, it's like, yeah, you can kill him now. Like you just say, here you go. Here's a free model that may or may not have done some damage before he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. He's so dang good.
Yeah, so Copycat Killer is good for that reason. We already talked about why Curio is good. I think Corpse Candles are just good because you can keep like summoning them and creating pyro markers, and it's pretty gross.
Yeah, and again, I'm not taking away from the other totems because again, all of them have really good work for them cut out. Especially the Marathon, who like I said is one of the best in Neverborn. But Corpse Candle, by being a 1 point insignificant model, the fact that you're recycling this model over and over again, and every time you kill it, it just does something heinous to the opponent crew. It's just like, why am I playing this game? That's how it feels like sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's abusive.
Oh.
You need to shut that crap down, man.
I mean, you played it for a little bit. How did that feel? It felt dirty from what I remember.
Yeah, it's just because you're just dropping, pyro markers everywhere to just make everything else just terrible.
Yeah, and whenever you drop a pyro marker with the title, you also push, right? Or is that not?
Yeah, it's something like
Or
that.
am I mistaken that? I know, it's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. I'll just kind of quickly mention Necrotic Machine because that was one of my mentions. It's a teleport beacon for like Krooligans. It has Accomplice, so you can set up some really janky like card draw situations with it. If you are playing the poison game, it has neurotoxins, so that can randomly come up and kill models. And it also just is significant, and it's a healer. And it's surprisingly hard to kill. Like I've had games against like Seamus where the Necrotic Machine didn't die because it's armor 2.
Yeah, I mean, strange behavior. I remember losing a game to you to that stupid action.
Yeah, because you just be like,
So-
cool, I'm going to discard a card. I'm going to like walk and move 3. And it's just like, oh, now I can drop a ski marker or vote or whatever.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Or you can just dump your hand and then just activate Molly and draw a bunch of cards.
Kevin says, Ikiri is the green Chompy. If Chompy is up there as one of the best in the game, it's like, Chompy is in Neverborn, for sure, but Ikirio is just kind of abusable because you can summon it back.
And I would
It's like
say
you have this minigame.
Curio is easier to kill than Chompy.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is a minigame involved where, like, okay, do I kill it now or do I kill it after? Because if it activates, you don't kill it. But then the following turn, if you don't go first, then it goes first.
Yeah.
And then it just does the entire cycle again.
Yeah, so it's definitely, it's worth killing a Curio. You just have to kill it at the right moment. Because like you said, if it activates and then you kill it, they can summon it back and it can go again.
Yeah, because it counts as a new model. Ugh.
Yeah. So you just want to be aware of when you're doing that. So if I had to pick one, because we're talking about a few, I think I actually like a Curio's close. Plus, if you look at her damage track, it's not as splashy as Chompy's. It's only 2, 3, 4, but it's irreducible. With Onslaught possibly is also gross.
That's true.
So it's not as splashy, but it can also just randomly like kill a henchman because it's irreducible, especially if they hit Onslaught.
Yeah, you're right.
So I kind of want to lean a Curio, but I've done some filthy things with Copycat Killer, so I'm going to say Copycat Killer.
Yeah, okay. And I don't disagree. Like I said, it was a 3-way tie. So, yeah, Copycat Killer. Because, like, Seamus is a solid master. You can play whatever you want with Seamus, really.
Well, and especially if you're just a player who's not as familiar with Red Chapel, wherever you see the Copycat Killer going, just know that that's now a possibility where Seamus is going to be. So usually Copycat Killer just kind of tries to kind of work its way, around kind of to your back line almost. And then just randomly Seamus can pop up in that situation without using, whatever his teleport thing's called.
Yeah, I mean, even without that, a Copycat Killer can activate, walk 10 inches, then swap with Seamus, giving Seamus an additional, 11 inches of extra movement on turn 1.
Yeah, turn 1, turn 1, it's gross. Like, you got to batten down the hatches turn 1 because Copycat Killer does that, moves him up, and then you have Secret Passage to just go wherever you want with Seamus.
Yeah, it's super gross.
Yep, you gotta be ready for it.
Yeah, and you have to kill him. Like yeah.
So out of those 3, which one's your pick then?
No, I said I will agree with
Okay.
you. I told you the 3, and then you said Caballero Killer. It's like, yeah, they were a 3-way tie, so therefore, yes.
Okay. And we already got the worst, so on to the last faction.
Yeah. And this one, I almost wanted to make a special rule, but I don't think it's necessary because there is somebody that can fight
Yeah.
in even ground. So I have a 2-way tie here.
Well, one of them's got to be the Hungering Darkness.
That is absolutely correct.
And if
Can
I
you
had
guess
to
which was the
guess
second?
the other one, would it be Shang?
No. Oh my. Okay, I guess I'll say it. It's the Jade Rabbit.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, to be specific to the listeners, if you're not aware of this trick, it's actually very awesome. You can put Silent Protector on the Jade Rabbit, which
I think
gives
it's
him
overrated.
challenge. I'm sorry, what was that?
As I said, I think that combo's overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah, right.
I do. I've played against it, and I played against it in Houston last year, and it's fine. I just think it's whatever.
I mean, I've seen so many people layer this thing so well. So I don't know. Maybe the person that did it to you either didn't layer it well, or you just had the cards in hand. But this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, because what they end up doing is they go, okay, the Jade Rabbit's going to challenge you, and if you target the Jade Rabbit, you're at a double negative with its lucky ability, and that's fine because now it's like, oh, you have to either kill the Jade Rabbit, which is hard if you're at a double negative, or you have to discard a card to hit something else. So
Right.
one, it's doing that to one model. So I'm kind of like, okay, you're going to make it inconvenient for like my beater to do something. Okay, I'll pitch 2 cards. Usually you have at least 1 week that you can do that. But honestly, I've found a lot of ways where I can just kill the Jade Rabbit, so I don't care. You just take a decent henchman and just be like, cool, I'm going to burn a focus and a stone and one-shot you. That's usually how I deal with it.
Right. So that's the reason why Silent Protector is also powerful on it, because you're paying 2 stones for it to have hard to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. I have killed the Jade Rabbit with hazardous shenanigans, so I understand that it is doable and possible, but it is not easy.
Well, I'm also playing Shenlong now, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I can ignore this, and this.
Yeah. For example, some random Solner Capitan in Freycore. Oh, I ignore all negatives. That's a way that you can deal with it too. But it is just on its base alone, negatives, double negatives specifically. Whenever you are in opposed duels with the rabbit and evasive, it's just like, I need some shenanigans to deal with this stupid model.
And honestly, also, even though you're at a double negative, since it's only stat 3, you can sometimes kill this at a double negative.
Yeah, I mean, I have also lost an activation basically to his frantic frailing trigger, the blank stare. I'm just hating this stupid model. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. So
Dude,
it's solid. I like the Jade Rabbit as just going and puking out ski markers the entire game. That's probably my favorite function for it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it near the top though. It's very good because once again, it does have Arcane Reservoir, so that's really good.
Okay.
I would actually. So I agree with Hungering Darkness. We'll get into why he's good. But if I picked a second,
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
To me, it's just very obvious it's these two.
Yeah, I'd say Shang is probably I'd say Shang is at the same level with the Jade Rabbit just because it also has Arcane Reservoir, but it also just straight up helps Masaki's crew out being buried and being a healer and can be an unbury target. So, when I play against Masaki, I feel like Shang needs to die decently quickly just to manage things.
Yeah, and he stays in the back most of the game because his ability to heal somebody and bring them out of the void is actually very useful in
Yeah.
that keyword because of Misaki. Because he can yo-yo Misaki. Also, Misaki doesn't lose movement. So it could be like second to last activation in a turn, move once, drop Misaki, and then Misaki now has her full, movement shenanigan.
Okay, so why is Huggy probably the best totem in the faction?
I mean, there's so many. Even if you're not talking about the title making him a master and giving him an extra action.
Yeah.
Even ignoring that, right? Then there's freaking he's a henchman. He can use soul stones. He's stat 6 on willpower, movement, attacks, period. Has obey. Like, this thing is a giant house.
Yeah.
It's just toolbox everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it has an obey, which just randomly is good. It has a 2-4-6 damage track with the ability to get crit strike, and yeah, it also has drain magic, which is good. The mass trigger that's built in isn't too bad either. It can heal itself for each brilliance that it like devours with its bonus. It's
this
in corp and terrifying.
In high level play, this thing can have a triple positive flip.
Yeah.
In high level play, this thing can get a stone for a crit. You can double positive on the attack because you whatchamacallit, you remove a brilliance, you use focus, and then you can cheat a ram and then get the double critical strike for 8 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing is gross. It's just super gross.
Yeah, and there's a lot of mobility in Honeypot, so this thing gets pushed around and it's move 6. So yeah,
Yes,
just
yes. In the title, it gets especially hard to take down, which is the reason why I didn't want to like mention that version because he's a master at that point. Yeah, but yeah, no, this thing is fairly hard to take down with stones and incorporeal. And Terrifying 11 sometimes matters.
Yeah, and I think he was better in a fighting GG, but he's still very good in this gaining grounds because he can kind of control an area.
Oh yeah.
So you can still see Honeypot and like raid the vaults and probably ballots and even Cloak and Dagger. You can probably see it there too. So if you play against Honeypot and Lynch, you should definitely have some kind of plan for this guy.
2-inch melee makes this model very important in like stuff the ballots and stuff like that.
So what do you think is the worst totem in the faction?
Excuse me. That's kind of hard to say.
Is it Chio?
No, good lord. No. Chio needs to die and she dies to a stiff breeze, but if she crosses the bit line and you have nothing around her to kill her, she's annoying because she's giving your opponent pass tokens.
Okay.
Yeah, she's significant. She gives the opponent 2 pass tokens. The only thing that makes Chio a bad totem is that she dies to a stiff breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she has so much value. Like, she is a high risk, high reward model, and I love her.
Okay, so
that being said, probably Luna for no, that's not even correct.
I don't think
Spire
there's
Source
an,
is
see
not
the
it.
thing about 10 Thunders, I don't think there's an easy bad totem.
I'm gonna say Shang, maybe. No, dude, Amanjaku is fantastic. I played 3 games so far against the keyword and with the keyword, and Shang is great.
I think in 10 Thunders, oddly enough, the Forgeling might be the worst totem.
No, not even. He gives you 2 scrap markers, removes conditions on you, and heals.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I don't know which one to pick for the worst. I
don't think there is.
Me myself,
let's say with Chio.
I would probably say Chio just because she's kind of easy to kill, and if she does survive, the longer she survives, the more value you get.
Correct.
So if you don't kill her, it will be a mistake, but I think most smart players know to go kill her real quick.
Yeah. So given that setting or whatever, I guess we have to choose Chio. So Chio is the easiest one to kill because all of them give you value and they're great throughout the turn, the game.
I will say, and I'm not going to be biased here because I think if we're going to use that, the aspiring students actually are probably easier to kill than her because they're not like stealth or anything. So, and the aspiring students are definitely worth killing. So, like,
Yeah, but I don't have to play forward. That's the thing that
Yeah.
sucks about. Because like, yeah, do you want to kill the aspiring students? Absolutely. Where are they? Oh, they're like 3 inches off the deployment zone. Well, crap.
but I will say that they are easy to kill, which, I mean, they're not the worst because they definitely, if they live throughout the entire game, you probably lost the game because they're just so utilitarian.
Yeah.
But they are easy
I mean,
to kill.
the most frustrating thing about them, in my opinion, is that they could get to use chi.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever shot at a defense 7 in cover aspiring
Yeah.
student. It is cancerous, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%. Well, we did it. We got through the totems.
Yeah, that was actually fun. I thought I didn't realize it was going to be that interesting talking about totems.
So, and some people might have thought the same thing when they're like, a totem episode, this is going to be lame.
I mean, honestly, once we started getting the ball rolling, it was a lot, because it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Except for the guild. Guild was like super easy to choose.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, that guild is the one that inspired this. I was talking with Photon about Dashel, and I was like, man, he's probably the best totem in the game, the dispatcher.
I would not be surprised. Yeah, I would probably put him up there.
This little radio dork is better than Chompy.
It just does so much. Too much.
It is a lot.
Why does he draw you cards and also like turn everything on?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a good, like, it was probably like he used to suck, and it was drawing a card is probably too good for that ability, but it's good, and I enjoy it when I play Dashel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got that going on. You decided that you're playing Neverborn for the Houston GT.
Yep. I'm trying to get my reps in with WoW. Has been difficult because it is not an easy keyword to like maneuver.
Yeah.
And I'm way out of practice.
Well, that's all right. You still got 2.5, 3 months to get your reps in there.
Oh joy.
But I know you got your appointment, so we'll wrap this thing up. I want to thank everybody for joining. Hopefully, especially the newer players, you got an idea over some of those hot totems that you want to be wary of in the game. And yeah, until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables, and we will see you all later.